It's a little slow on the uptick. Beg your pardon. Five.
We're good? Okay, so it's 7:01 and I will call this regular council meeting of April 26th to order. So I'll be looking for a motion to adopt the agenda, please. Council Broadjack, thank you very much. Is there going to be any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Next up is the adoption of the minutes of our last meeting. Looking for a motion. Councilor Lemko, thank you very much. Everybody's had a chance to go over those. Is there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. I just want to start this meeting by saying that's a very nice backdrop you have there, Councilor Lemko, or really looks sharp. And all those that are wearing their buttons, very nice. As far as I forgot. Sorry about that. Okay, now first up, Dale Lefebvre.
Thank you, Worship. I was just putting my button on my shirt. That's all I was doing.
Yeah, see, nice. Look at you go.
This will be an RCD showing up at the next regular, no, at this meeting, actually. It'll just be for this one. We'll require a decision tonight. It's a development permit application, and it is to approve a development permit application for the purpose of erecting a 6-foot fence on the east, north, and west side of the property at 5102 51st Ave. On April 22nd, 2021, Mrs. Wanda Dinwiddie applied to erect a fence at 5102 51 Avenue as per the attached site plan. The property is currently zoned as DC Direct Control District. The use of the property is currently residential, and as a result, this application is required to be decided on by council. Recommendation is being made that town council review development permit application number 11-04-21-DIN and authorize the development authority officer to approve the application based on the following conditions. Condition 1 is the fence must meet all standards and conditions applicable from the town's land use bylaw 11/2019. And number 2, the applicant is responsible to locate the property pins. And if the applicant chooses to complete the locate without a legal land surveyor, the construction would be at their own risk for the location of the fence. So again, this is only because we have a small direct control district downtown, and all decisions are made directly by council with the direct control district.
Okay. So your recommendation from IDMP is that we go ahead and approve this deal? Like, if everything is
that we want you to, that we want you to review and then authorize the development authority to proceed.
okay. Anybody have any questions? Councilor Broadjack.
If this property were not direct control, if it was just a single family residence, would this application, would there be any questions going forward from infrastructure planning and development, or would it be approved?
It would be approved, definitely.
Okay. So the only reason it's here is because of the zoning is direct control.
That is correct.
Well, this looks like an easy one for everybody. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, I'd like to get a motion that we go ahead and with the recommendation. Councilor Waters makes the motion that we agree with the recommendation to go ahead with this fence, the permit. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Dale.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have correspondence.
Okay. This is a letter from the town of Morinville, Office of the Mayor. It's addressed to the Honorable Casey Madu, Minister of Justice and Solicitor General. Read, Town of Morinville support for RCMP. Our council is not supportive of the Government of Alberta's initiative to replace the RCMP with an Alberta Provincial Police Service, or APPS. Our opinion is that there are other more effective ways to achieve the outcomes identified through the Police Act review. Indeed, improving the public's trust to policing, ensuring an effective complaint process, and improving Indigenous peoples' relationships are important objectives. There are, however, several considerations that cause justifiable concern. The Fair Deal panel recommends establishing an APPS dispute, despite 65% of respondents indicating non-support. The necessity for new model is unclear when there is little substantiated dissatisfaction with the RCMP, but rather some areas for improvement have rightfully been identified. Transition costs are poorly understood, and ongoing operating costs are inevitably rise. Municipalities currently bear the majority of policing costs and are not able or willing to accept any additional increases. As you know, municipalities have limited means to increase revenues, receiving only 8 to 10 cents for every tax dollar collected. Continuing to do more with less is unattainable. There is not compelling evidence that an APPS would result in better outcomes, particularly with the expected increase in costs. The town of Morinville has a collaborative relationship with the local RCMP detachment and is satisfied with the level of service and degree of responsiveness received. As such, council encourages the government of Alberta to abandon the transition study and redouble efforts to work with the RCMP to achieve better outcomes. Sincerely, Barry Taylor, Mayor.
All right. And you've received another, we've received another letter as well.
Yes, we have. This is from County of Paintearth, number 18. Also addressed to the Honorable Casey Madu, Minister of Justice and Solicitor General. Re County of Paintearth's support for the RCMP. Our council wishes to advise they are also not in support of the Government of Alberta's initiatives to replace the RCMP with an Alberta Provincial Police Service, or APPS, as affirmed in Mayor Turner's letter from the town of Morinville. Council agrees that by revising the Police Act, the outcomes as identified through the review can be achieved, such as improving the public's trust in policing, ensuring an effective complaint process, and having a more harmonious relationship between the police and all communities within Alberta. Council too has concerns with the province establishing an APPS despite 65% of respondents indicating non-support. The costs of transitioning to an APPS are unknown, and the increased operating costs will undoubtedly be borne by the municipalities. The municipalities are currently bearing a substantial amount of policing costs and are not willing to accept unknown additional increases that will inevitable from a transition to an APPS. This simply cannot be done in a short time frame to offer the expertise and services currently provided to Albertans by the RCMP. Our county has developed a collaborative relationship with our local RCMP detachment over many years and is satisfied with the level of service and degree of responsiveness received and their involvement in the communities located in the county. Council echoes and encourages the Government of Alberta to abandon the transition study and redouble efforts to work with the RCMP to achieve better outcomes. Yours truly, County of Paintearth, number 18, Stan Schulmeister, Reeve.
Okay, so we've had two letters, and most of us were on the Zoom meetings with AUMA when they were discussing this. Myself personally, I don't remember them telling us what the cost was going to be. I know that they felt that moving forward as a province, as the government, today's government feels that it is the best thing for us. But there was no cost attached. And I want everybody to know right now that in our community, we have no problem with the RCMP and the way they're policing. So But I don't know that we've received enough information one way or the other on what the plan would be. So who would like to kick this off, this conversation? Councillor Barry.
I would first like to say receive and file on both of these letters. And in speaking to them, yeah, I don't think I have sufficient information right now that I want to try and make a decision for or against this. I think I would like to wait and obtain more information. The information that we've received so far, in my opinion, it's they could do this or they could do that. And I don't recall adequate pricing between the two options in either. Thank you.
Okay, so Councillor Barry's made a motion for receive and file on these two letters. Is there any more comments, any more discussion on them? Councillor Rudy.
So I would say that based on the information that we've shared in the AUMA study groups that they provided for a variety of different reasons, I would be in favor of writing a letter. But I think this council has a lot of different opinions, and I think it would be difficult for us to write a letter of endorsement at this time. That said, I do feel like we have a good working relationship with the RCMP locally. We had a great conversation with our local detachment last time, and I'm very hopeful that we can make improvements to some of the things that we see as locally important to the safe and effective operations in our community, and we continue to seek partnerships that are valuable. So I don't see a problem with writing a letter, but I know that council as a whole isn't feeling strongly behind that. So I'm happy just to receive and file this letter and continue to seek more information as we move along.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of receive and file? Gary, thank you. Next up, Cliff, you have a letter from the town of High River.
Yes, this letter is addressed to yourself as the mayor, and it's regarding the Eastern Slopes coal exploration and public consultation on the 1976 coal development policy. Dear your worship and members of council, the province has initiated the public consultation process for all Albertans to provide their voice as it relates to coal development on the eastern slopes of the Rockies. However, this iconic landscape remains threatened due to continued exploration activities. The town of High River is requesting your support to encourage the province and the Alberta Energy Regulator to cease all exploration on Category 2 lands within the eastern slope of the Rockies. In addition, we want to encourage all municipalities to actively participate in the public consultation process to ensure our opinions and the voices of our residents are heard. Protection of this valuable landscape and the watersheds that will be impacted by any coal development activity is important to every resident of Alberta. At the April 12, 2021 regular meeting of council, which would be Town of High River, the following resolution was adopted. Be it resolved that council direct administration to draft a letter to be signed by the mayor and sent to Premier Jason Kenney and Minister Sonia Savage, requesting that the Alberta regulator stop all activities associated with coal exploration permits on the Category 2 lands that were approved prior to February 8, 2021. And that given public consultation that has begun regarding coal mining on the eastern slopes, council requests that these coal exploration projects be put on hold by the government of Alberta until final decisions have been made regarding the extraction of coal on the eastern slopes of Alberta, or the elimination of the extraction of coal, especially given the destruction and exploration causes and affects our landscapes and our watershed. That council direct administration to draft a letter to be signed by the mayor and sent to all municipalities in Alberta, encouraging them to send letters to Premier Kenney and Minister Savage, supporting the stoppage of exploration activities on the eastern slopes. And further, that the town of High River also encourages all municipalities to fully participate in the ongoing public consultation process, including phase 1, which is the gathering of information that the committee will use to draft the actual public consultation process. The town has sent letters to Premier Kenney and Minister Savage requesting that the Alberta Energy Regulator stop all activities associated with coal exploration permits on the Category 2 lands that were approved prior to February 8, 2021. In addition, these letters request that the coal exploration projects be put on hold until final decisions have been made about the extraction or the elimination of extraction of coal from the eastern slopes, following a meaningful public consultation process. The town of High River is respectfully requesting your continued support, that you consider writing to Premier Kenney and Minister Savage requesting that all exploration activities on the eastern slopes of the Rockies be ceased, pending the outcome of a meaningful public consultation process. We are encouraging you and your communities to actively participate in the public consultation process to ensure your views are shared. It is our responsibility to ensure our communities and our residents have the opportunity to share their views as it relates to resource development along the eastern slopes. Thank you for your ongoing support and commitment regarding the important initiative for Alberta. Sincerely, Craig Snodgrass, Mayor.
Okay, I'll take a motion to receive and file. Thank you, Councilor Warwick. So any comments? Councilor Berry.
On this matter, I would be in favor of drafting a letter of support. I believe that continued coal exploration in the East Slopes and the Rockies is detrimental to the environment out there. And our main concern here is that our water supply actually comes from the headwaters of the North Saskatchewan. And like all the other municipalities in the province, so many of us rely on the quality of water. And coal is proven to contaminate water supplies with heavy metals. We also have to respect that not only are Alberta residents affected, but those in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, because these waters continue to flow beyond our borders. And I do not believe at this point in time that public consultation has been sufficient within Alberta and hasn't even occurred in other provinces. So I would support that we ask them to put a hold on this exploration. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? We'll go with Councilor Rudy first and then Councilor Warwick.
Thank you very much, Councillor Berry, for expressing your views, especially about the protection of water. This is an issue that may seem far away from us in Vegreville, but I think it's undoubtedly one of those issues that has been requiring more attention. And I think it's an example of small communities needing to stand up for one another. And as a smaller community that is directly supporting other small communities, in the past, we've sought the support of other communities when we were having issues with the federal government, for example, and adding our voice to ensure that those living in the proximity of this particular type of coal mining is important, in addition to the protection of our water. This is an issue that Vegreville residents have asked us as a council to speak on and speak out about. And I'm glad to add our voice to the letters that are being sent to the Premier to ask for the protection of a resource that we all value, regardless of where we live in the province. And in particular, because it directly impacts us as a community that relies on the water that comes from this origin. So I think that a letter of support would be in order.
Okay, Councilor Warwick.
Mine is very similar to Councillor Rudick's. I just wanted to say, like, I myself had several residents reach out to me, and they wanted to know that we were looking at the issue, even though it doesn't seem on the surface to be something that is directly impacting in Vegreville. But, you know, I'm glad that we were able to have the discussion, and thankful also to Councillor Barry for having that expertise, that we were able to have a good discussion about it, and you were able to bring in some of those issues. So, you know, I think that we're making the right move, and we're showing our support, not only for our residents, but overall for protection within Alberta. So thank you.
Okay. So the motion we're going to vote on is receive and file and write a letter of support to the town, along with the town of High River. Okay, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, next up, Cliff, CN. You want to give us an overall take on what their letter is about? That's a lot of reading, and about spraying weeds, so.
Sure. So CN did write in on to discuss their right-of-way vegetation control. They use two methods for vegetation control. One is mechanical, which would mean cutting or mowing, and the second is chemical, which would be spraying. This is, of course, to help protect their infrastructure with the rail system, but also for the reduction of potential fires from near the rail infrastructure. So this is an annual letter that comes through, and it's just notifying the municipality that CN does do right-of-way vegetation control, both on their tracks, the rail infrastructure, and the right-of-way.
Okay, I'll take a motion to receive and file this letter. Councilor Warba. So any questions? Does anybody know what type of chemical they're using?
CN does not specify.
Okay, Councilor Barry.
By some of the wording here, I suspect it is a Roundup type chemical.
This has been ongoing for many years. Dale, I don't think we've ever seen a problem with their vegetation control within their corridor through town.
Not typically. If we do, we have contacts that we get a hold of, and they'll come and address it fairly quickly.
Okay, Director Rowe.
Just so council is aware, in the frequently asked questions document, it lists the chemicals that they use.
Good. Does anybody need any more information regarding this letter? Just pretty much standard operating procedures with CN. So, hey, all those in favor of receiving file? Carried, thank you. Next up, Mr. Paul Casey.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. This is for the monthly cash statement for the month ended March 31st, 2021. We began the month with $9,933,993. We ended the month with $8,543,225, so a use of cash of $1,390,767. Major expenditures in the month were our quarterly debenture payments of $286,628, the Alberta Education Requisition for $539,677, and the funds spent out of the most grant for the council and administration upgrades up to that time were $187,015. We also spent $100,665 for our utilities on our facilities and $82,252 on Southeast 17 work. There were not a lot of major cash receipts during the month other than normal. The biggest one we received outside of property taxes on the TIP program was from franchise fees for $74,884.
Take a motion to receive and file this information. Counselor Berry. Does anybody have any questions regarding this financial update? That's a lot of money in 1 month. Oh. Seeing no questions, all those in favor? Gary. Next up, Bill Rowe.
Thank you, Worship. This is a request for council decision. And the topic is 2021 yard garage sale guidelines. The proposal to allow yard and garage sales within the town of Vegreville. The background, yard and garage sales are common practices in the summer months in all Alberta communities. In 2020, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, garage sales were not encouraged. The town has received numerous calls regarding yard sales in 2021. Today, we have a much better understanding of the COVID-19 restrictions that can be put in place to allow such events while maintaining public safety. Residents of Vegreville who are planning to host or attend a garage or yard sale encouraged to follow the attached guidelines to minimize the risk of spreading COVID-19. Setting guidelines in place will help residents of Vegreville operate and attend garage and yard sales with additional health and safety precautions set forth by Alberta Health Services. There's no financial implications with this communication strategy. We would post the recommended guidelines and protocols online at vegreville.com. Social media posts through the town of Vegreville streams urging residents hosting or attending yard sales to follow all recommended guidelines. All social media posts will link to the guidelines page at vegreville.com, and we'll issue a press release to local media outlets urging residents to adhere to guideline and protocols. Recommendation is being made that town council approve the attached 2021 garage and yard sale guidelines. Yard sales in the town of Vegreville set forth by the town of Vegreville and Alberta Health Services to be effective May 20th, 2021. That is a Friday.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion for this recommendation? Councilor Waters. Councilor Waters makes a motion for the recommendation. Okay. Let's hear some comments. Who wants to go first? Councilor Berry.
Yeah, I really haven't changed my opinion from last year. I still don't really want to be encouraging garage sales, mainly because of the fact that they are difficult to, on each individual to really keep and make sure that they're safe. But at the same time, I believe that we should really give them a good, proper set of guidelines and insist that they follow those guidelines in order to have a garage sale. So I think that I would approve this. I think it's laid out very well. And if everybody is sensible about holding a garage sale and everybody maintains these protocols, hopefully they should be safe.
Yeah. Anybody else? Councilor Lemko's first and then Councilor Waters.
Yes, I support going ahead with garage and yard sales. I think what's important to note, they're already happening in our community, whether we have a plan in place or not. As you can see, as you drive around town, there is garage sales happening. But what I like about this is that it gives the people the opportunity to have a garage sale, as long as they follow some guidelines. And those people who don't agree with it, don't go to the garage sale. You have a choice, whether you attend it or not. And there's those people who will seek out garage sales regardless of the state of the community right now with COVID. So I support it. There's some guidelines, and that's my opinion.
Okay, Councilor Waters, you're next.
I've had people reach out to me about the garage sales, if we're going to have them, if we're not, and that kind of thing. I appreciate the guidelines that are put forward. I know our residents have been very vigilant following sanitation, mask wearing, that kind of thing, and keeping our COVID numbers low. So that is much appreciated. and the guidelines as well here would just help instill that a little more, again, if they're going to hold these yard or garage sales. Like in the guidelines, there's a poster as well that's to be posted. Is that correct? I don't see a copy of the poster here, but.
There is a link on the actual electronic copy that will take you right to the poster page to print out.
Okay, yeah, it's just I didn't see it in the attachment here, but I am in support of yard and garage sales with the guidelines in place.
Okay. Any other comments? Councillor Rudick.
Well, when we had this discussion last year, I guess it was at a different point in the whole pandemic. We were still at the early stages trying to understand what the implications would be for the community. I appreciate that there are some clear guidelines and suggestions about how to proceed safely. I just find it hard to understand that this is a wise decision at this point for people to hold or attend garage sales. The regional municipality of Wood Buffalo just declared a state of emergency yesterday due to the COVID numbers in their community, and they were previously at a very small number. So it's hard to understand that this is a wise decision. And I appreciate that staff has come up with some guidelines. And of course, we remind people to always be careful and adhere to the guidelines to protect themselves and others. I just find it hard to understand how this is a wise decision at this time for people to be attending or hosting.
Okay. Thank you all. Myself personally, I like to ask Director Rowe a few questions. Who's going to be enforcing this, or is it just recommendation to people that have a garage sale, please? Be it try to do your part. Is that what it is, or there's no penalty if there's?
No, these are simply guidelines. And the onus is, I did speak with the Alberta Health Services Public Health Officer, and yard sales sort of combine into a mix of retail and in-home gatherings. So basically, if people attend a yard sale and they see that people are not following the rules, it is then up to them to decide that they will not attend or support that sale. It's not enforceable. It's just recommended guidelines on behalf of the town to everyone to do their part.
So if there's 10 people in a garage, they would be charged under the Alberta Health Act, correct?
Yes, they could be.
So when we're advertising garage sales, are we getting people from other communities traveling to our community?
It is very possible, yes.
Okay, so my feeling hasn't changed from last year at all. I really don't think we should be having garage sales. I don't think we should encourage people to come to our town right now. I mean, our COVID numbers are a lot higher now than they certainly were last year. And this is my opinion. And I just don't feel right about trying right now with the these variants that travel so fast to invite them to our community. But that's not what we're voting on here. We're voting on the recommendations, the town to make recommendations to people that are going to hold garage sales with or without respecting the law at all. So our decision is we are going to, the motion that is up right now is that the recommendation is that we support the guidelines that we're putting forward that have what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, I don't know how to say this without getting upset a little bit, but
Yeah,
what am I trying to say? Councilor Barry.
I think the situation is we're not encouraging people to hold a garage sale, but we also, under the difference between this time last year and this year, is we don't have any provincial guidelines that would give this community, give this council the right to deny garage sales. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to give them a set of guidelines and hope that people will be wise enough to follow the guidelines and be very careful that our community remains safe.
Councillor Riddick.
I appreciate your explanation, Councillor Barry. I just have a hard time because we have been very critical of the province about giving confusing description of what is allowed and what isn't allowed. And I know that my colleagues here have received phone calls. I receive phone calls quite often about gatherings that people believe are inappropriate, businesses that are not complying with provincial guidelines. And I feel it's very hard for us to support this endorsement of these guidelines at the same time that I personally don't endorse having garage sales. So it's a difficult situation to be in to support guidelines for something I don't think should be happening. And I do not want to have people calling me to police each other, because while the statement is there that they could be charged for violating the Health Act, we know in reality that is very unlikely to happen. And instead what will happen is that neighbors that are already tense will be calling each other or calling us to report on each other. And I'm not looking for that kind of division anymore. I think that we need to look for positive actions like we saw today with the unveiling of the mural, and encouraging people to reach out and support one another rather than looking for reasons to divide our community.
Councillor Barry.
Councillor, I tend to agree with you completely. The situation is, if we remain silent, then we are actually condoning garage sales. So by having a set of really good guidelines, we're saying we don't want to encourage garage sales. We want to keep our community safe. But here's a set of guidelines. You must follow them. If we had the ability to just say no to a garage sale, I'd be in favor of just saying no. But we don't have that legal right at this time. It's a provincial matter, unfortunately, still. Thank you.
Councillor Lemko.
Yeah, I fully agree with Councillor Barry. I don't support the garage sale idea, but if you're going to have one, certainly follow a list of guidelines, which we're proposing here. It's no different than going into any one of the grocery stores that we have. There's people picking up cans of soup and looking at them, putting them back, and I'm following up with my car, picking up a can of soup and putting that same can back. What's the difference between that and a garage sale? I think if there's a set of guidelines, at least people have something to follow. Right now, they're going to have that garage sale without a set of guidelines. Is there something?
Okay. So the motion is, oh, sorry, Councillor Broadjack.
I also don't support having garage sales at this time. I'm just wondering, yeah, I do agree it is a good idea to put out some definite guidelines as to how to host a safe garage sale. But I think I would like to see that, since the majority of council are opposed to this, that maybe there could be a disclaimer ahead of it saying, we do not encourage garage sales at this time. However, should you decide to hold a garage sale, please follow the following guidelines.
Councillor Warwick.
I figure I might as well say, I really like Councillor Broadjack's idea there. While last year I wasn't in favor either of the garage sale, as I do look at it, I think we need to pass the regulation. I would agree with a disclaimer where we're still saying we don't encourage it. But I mean, we have other activities that are going on. We can be concerned that we're inviting people into the town, but we're doing that through any of our tourism, through the opening of visitor information centers. So having a garage sale, in essence, is really, in my opinion, not inviting them all that much worse than we are by some of our other open activities. So I would really agree with the disclaimer idea, so that we make it known that we aren't encouraging it. In fact, we're discouraging it. However, this is the safe way to proceed.
Okay, and I understand that we do throw functions and we invite people to our community, and especially if it's a town function, and we have all the protocols in place already, and we can keep an eye on how the operation is going during the day. But I think nobody in this council is going to vote against the recommendation for having guidelines if you want to have a garage sale. I'm pretty sure that that would pass right now. But the fact that we don't recommend you having a garage sale should be come along with it. So, but that's what it is. So I think that we're going to vote on the motion, the recommendation that we put out some guidelines for people that are having garage sales. All those in favor? Carried. And can we make sure that there's a disclaimer at the end of this, these guidelines? Thank you.
Yes, I will I'll work with Jameson and ensure that happens, sir.
Thank everybody for their comments. And I know that, you know, the way that communities are catching on fire in such a hurry, Vermilion, what happened quick there, what's happening in Wood Buffalo today, and what could be happening in Red Deer tomorrow or Vegreville next weekend. It can happen that fast. So just encourage all residents to be as careful as they possibly can. There is no time to let your guard down right now with all these new variants that are out there. So, okay, so next up, our bylaw on the new tax rates. Mr. Paul Casey.
Yes, your worship, this is bylaws number 04-2021. This bylaw number 04-2021 of the town of Vegreville in the province of Alberta to authorize the rates of taxation and tax penalties to be levied against assessable property within the town of Vegreville for the 2021 taxation year. Whereas the town of Vegreville has prepared and adopted detailed estimates of the municipal revenues and expenditures as required at the council meeting held on December 14th, 2020. And whereas the estimated municipal revenues and transfers from all sources other than taxation is estimated at $8,854,537. And whereas the estimated municipal expenditures and transfers set out in the annual budget for the town of Vegreville for 2021 total $17,291,435. And the balance of $8,436,898 is to be raised by general municipal property taxation. And whereas the estimated amount required to repay principal debt to be raised by general municipal taxation is $464,447. And whereas the estimated amount required for current year capital expenditures to be raised by general municipal taxation is $295,000. And therefore, the total amount to be raised by general municipal taxation is $9,196,345. And whereas the requisitions are for the Alberta School Foundation Fund, for residential and farmland, $1,044,119. For non-residential properties, $673,449. For a total of $1,717,568. For Elk Island Catholic Separate Regional Division number 41, for residential and farmland, $232,516. For non-residential properties, $98,447. For a total of $330,963. For the MD of Minburn Foundation, $150,884. And for designated industrial property, $1,983. Whereas the council of the town of Vegreville is required each year to levy on the assessed value of all property tax rates sufficient to meet the estimated expenditures and requisitions. And whereas the council is authorized to classify assessed property and establish different rates of taxation in respect to each class of property subject to the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26, the Municipal Government Act. And whereas the assessed value of all property in the town of Vegreville as shown on the assessment roll for municipal purposes is residential and farmland, $468,508,430. Non-residential small business, $82,889,100. Non-residential other, $85,328,360. Designated industrial properties, $25,689,970. Machinery and equipment, $2,280,400. Granson Place of Taxes, $46,629,690 for a total assessment of $711,325,950. Whereas the assessed value of all property in the town of Vegreville as shown on the assessment roll for the Alberta School Foundation Fund purpose is $554,498,042. Whereas the assessed value of all property in the town of Vegreville as shown on the assessment roll for Elk Island Catholic Separate Regional Division number 41 is $107,917,818. Now, therefore, under the authority of the Municipal Government Act, the Council of the Town of Vegreville in the province of Alberta enacts as follows. 1, this bylaw may be cited as the 2021 property tax and tax penalty bylaw. 2, the Chief Administrative Officer is hereby authorized to levy the following rates of taxation on the assessed value of all property as shown on the assessment roll of the Town of Vegreville. For municipal general, residential farmland, 7.9864 is the tax rate. For small business, it's 14.9147. And for non-residential other, it's 18.6525. For municipal policing services, for residential, it's 1.2393. For small business, it's 2.3144. And for non-residential, it's 2.8945. For the Alberta School Foundation Fund and the Elk Island Catholic Separate Regional Division number 41, for residential and farmland, it's 2.7249. And for non-residential, it's 3.9807. And for the MDM Inburn Foundation, it's 0.2270. And for designated industrial properties, it's 0.0766. The summary tax rates, therefore, are residential, including all requisitions, 12.1776 for residential, 21.4368 for small business, 25.7547 for other non-residential, 25.8323 for designated industrial properties, 21.7740 for machinery and equipment, and 21.5470 for grants in place of taxes. 3, property taxes for the current year are due and payable no later than June 30th, 2021. And 4, the following penalties are set. A, 0% penalty on all current taxes remaining unpaid after June 30th, 2021. B, 10% penalty on all current taxes remaining unpaid after September 30th, 2021. And C, 15% penalty on all taxes remaining unpaid after December 31st, 21. This bylaw shall take effect on the date of the third and final reading. And number 6, repeal bylaw 072020 is hereby repealed.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll take a motion for the first reading. Councilor Warlock, thank you. Is there any questions on this bylaw? Well, can you just help me out a little bit and the people that are watching? What is the difference between small business and non-residential?
Small business is any business with less than 50 employees throughout Canada. And so they get we have a lower tax rate for the small businesses. The other non-residential is all the other businesses with over 50 employees across Canada and any vacant commercial or industrial property.
Thank you. Councilor Barry.
Well, thank you for a tremendous amount of good information here. Could you maybe just explain what the good news is to an average homeowner in the town right now as to what this means for a savings this year?
Well, overall, it's for an average house that's assessed at about $201,000. It's a savings of about $31 a year on their taxes.
Okay. Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion for the first reading? Carry. Thank you. I'll be looking for a motion for the second reading. Councilor Waters, thank you very much. All those in favor of the motion for the second reading? Carry. I will be looking for a motion of unanimous consent. Councilor Barry, who's seen that one coming? Okay, all those in favor of the motion for unanimous consent? Thank you. And now I need a motion for the third and final reading. Councillor Lemko. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Paul. Okay, next up, we'll have council reports. And we are going to start with Councillor Brajak. Go into the middle of the screen.
Okay, April 14th to 16th, I attended the AUMA Spring Municipal Leaders Caucus virtually. I'm not a fan of attending a virtual conference. We just don't get the meeting. It's just not a good way to host or to attend a virtual meeting of this type. On April 14th, we had a council assembly. We also did a council volunteer video. Thank you, Jameson, for making us look good to recognize our volunteers of our community. April 15th, we had our economic development, the VEDDAB meeting, where we discussed our marketing campaign with SAG Communications, and we will be having a discussion with council for a recommendation brought forth by the Economic Development Board. On April 20th, legislative committee meeting, and today we attended the healthcare and frontline workers mural unveiling. Kudos to Councillor Lemko for his collaboration with Vegreville visual artists and all those involved for bringing this mural forward. We really needed to show appreciation to all our frontline workers during this past year. So they did a wonderful mural, which is Councillor Lemko is proudly displaying as his background for our meeting tonight. And tonight's council meeting and a council CAO meeting. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Waters.
On April 14th, the CAL Zoom meeting, Community First Association for Lasting Success, all's going well there. Preschool's full, and so far all of the staff have remained healthy. Curtis Palachuk donated 400 N95 masks to CALs. With the current variant, some of the staff have moved to the N95s for added protection. An update on the Val Sweeting jersey raffle, it went well. We raised $1,800, so thank you to everyone who bought a ticket. And thank you to Val for donating the jersey. And congratulations to the winner, who was Kevin Roselle. So that was exciting. That was great for CALs, and thank you everyone for that. April 14th, also the Volunteer Week video, orchestrated wonderfully and executed perfectly. So that was terrific to see as well. On the 15th and 16th, I too attended the AUMA Zoom conference, and I echo Councillor Brodziak. Zoom is not the way for conferences. You just don't get the feel, you don't get energized. It's totally different. Can't wait for that to come back. On the 20th, legislative meeting. Today, the unveiling of the mural and the thank you to the frontline workers and healthcare professionals. Just want to thank everyone who spent all their hours putting that together. It's a wonderful display. And I do encourage everyone, go take a look, go sign the thank you. And again, thank you, Councillor Lemko. Great initiative to get that going. Well-deserved pat on the back for that. And also today's council CAO meeting and council meeting.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lemko.
Thank you, Your Worship. The April 14th, I attended the Talk of the Town with Julie from FCSS to talk about Volunteer Appreciation Week. In the afternoon, I was fortunate enough to attend with council to the Sanka Park and do the taping of the Volunteer Appreciation message. And thanks again, Jameson, for making us look good. That's for sure. I was involved in the 14th to 16th AUMA virtual spring caucus. And there was some takeaways, but again, virtually it's very difficult to take a lot away from those conferences. I'll let on the 19th and the 20th, I attended the Tourism Advisory Board meeting as well as the FCSS Advisory Board meeting. And I'll let the chair of both those committees, Councilor Orawa, speak to those. So she probably have some notes that she wants to relay out. The 20th, the Ledge meeting, the 21st was the Library Board meeting. And Library Board, a lot of it was working on policy and getting all that done. It's been the third time we've had to shut the library down in this year. And it's tough to get programming going or anything going when you, it's like riding the waves up and down. So. And the unveiling of the frontline workers mural today. And I thank you for the positive comments regarding that. But I was a small piece. I'd be like if you watch Deadliest Catch, there's somebody in the crew cabin driving the boat, but all the work is being done on the deck and the flying around and everything that happens there. And I'm just rewarded with the amount of crab they bring in. So kudos to Marg and her team. Kudos to Anya for the hard work that she's done behind the scenes and putting this all together. I'm just fortunate enough to be surrounded by brilliance, and that's why projects like this happen. And thanks, Jameson, for making it broadcast the way it has today. So, and then tonight's council meeting. That's my report, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Councilor Warwick.
Thank you, Your Worship. On the 14th, I also had the taping for the volunteer message. And on the 15th to 16th was only on for 2 of the days with the AMA, but echo the sentiments of others of wanting it to come back on a more regular basis, more in person, I should say. On the 19th, I had the FCSS, on the 19th first, I had the VTAB meeting, and it was quite an exciting meeting. It's a little bit difficult when you're talking tourism because nobody knows exactly what things are gonna look like, in this upcoming year, but there was a couple of items I wanted to highlight, just a few of the things that have happened, and there seems to be a common theme we have. Our Vegreville visual artists seem to be involved in so many of our very successful projects. One of the things I thought was interesting that I just want to talk about, which has just passed through the VTAB, they did the Town of Vegreville Easter egg hunt. So with that, there was 40 of the painted rocks with the Vegreville visual artists, and they were hidden amongst 30 of the businesses, 40 rocks in 30 businesses, and 30 were found. So there was 10 that weren't online tracked, but I think that's a pretty good ratio. There was prizes given for first, second, and third. And again, a thank you to 30 businesses that took part in that. That was really good to see. We are discussing some of our future projects. Some of the ones we had highlighted was the Art Walk 2021, and we do have plans moving forward for that with some maybe unique or more possibly COVID-friendly options, which would include some painting for front windows of some of our local businesses. That's one of the looks to be able to make part of the Art Walk. And Explore Vegreville is looking to create an interactive online map with the printed brochure of the different locations and promote it through our social media and our town website. Another moving forward project is with our 2021 murals. There's been the call to artists, and so we're looking forward to another mural, which I think was very welcome and brought some great signs of hope forward in the community. To give a little bit, we had an update on our Visitor Information Center, and check here. So what we were discussing was opening potentially through Thursday, May 6th to Sunday, September 26th, Monday to Wednesday, 9 to 5, Thursday to Sunday, 9 to 8, and Wednesday, and also looking at what rotation would happen with the regional museum as we proceed forward. We talked about paddle boats, which we've already discussed a little bit tonight, but really excited about that. There'll be 3 paddle boats, and the plan moving forward for this year is that there wouldn't be a cost associated with being able to sign out a boat. And your boat would come, of course, with including your life jacket. So that's something that they've looked at, all the safety precautions. I want to thank Anya and Phil for, putting together some some good proposals on that. And I don't know, I've been getting good feedback in the community, so I'm super excited with that. They're also looking at spring registration and information brochures and some different tourism apps that we've been working through Go East with. And one of the other things I just wanted to highlight was the Go East of Edmonton Road Trip Adventure game. So basically what it is, it's an interactive game where people are able to go through without having to go specifically to businesses. It runs from June 1st to 31st. And last year there were 16 communities involved, and this year there's 41 communities involved. So the stop center where people would get stickers, it's kind of like, I was calling it a passport, but I guess it's more fair to say almost like a Monopoly board. And the stickers will be located at our visitor information center. So that is just some of the, go ahead projects. We're looking at a number of other things, coordinating with the Pesica Park, with discussions as to what Canada Day may look like, and also with some of the upcoming farmers market. And then, of course, the corn maze will be the highlight at the end. But I think there's a lot of really good things coming forward, and a lot of signs that we can still safely and within COVID measures adapt some of our events or our programs to still allow them to go forward. Then on the 20th, we had the FCSS meeting, and I just wanted to highlight a couple things from that meeting. That was, sorry, I've got 2 sets of notes here. One of the things was through the new Alberta Mental Health and Addictions COVID-19 community funding. Through this first phase, the FCSS is working to increase their counseling sessions from 6 to 17 sessions per week. Also, they gave us a report on the Welcome, Inclusive, and Connected Communities survey. So that has closed now. And I think I would say that I think it is a good response. We know what surveys can be like, but 82% of the people that replied back were town residents. And when the survey closed with that, we had over 130 responses back. We will get a full update, and then we can update council a little bit more, but we had a little bit of preliminary update from Jasmine. And I'd just like to say Jasmine Massey's done a really good job. I think she's been really exciting to have this youth involved with the FCSS, and she's really been, interesting to work with and really has good intentions. So it's really exciting to have a young person from our community want to come back in. I just have a couple of other things that I highlighted here as well. FCSS has been working really diligently to make sure that some of their programs are up and running with all the COVID measures. So we can expect to see back again the Friend Den, the Afternoon Fun, the After Hours Club, Sizzling Summer, and some community initiative guides. So that's a little bit of an update to the FCSS. And apart from that, I also had the legislative meeting and tonight's council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Rudy.
Thank you, Your Worship. I attended all the same meetings as my colleagues, and I'll just mention the ones that are different, perhaps. The one thing I would say about attending the AUMA Spring Leaders Caucus, agreed in person is always the best way to be able to interact with our colleagues, and we're missing that. The last couple of years has been missing out on that camaraderie, but there are some important decisions that are coming forward, and so it was really helpful to have access to a variety of provincial ministers as well as the Premier and the Leader of the Official Opposition to be able to hear what their thoughts are about municipalities as we move forward, because there's some important decisions that are coming in terms of the Local Elections Authority Act and what that means for municipal government coming forward to the fall. The intention that there are going to be referendum questions attached to our municipal election, things that we're not necessarily driving or interested in, and what those implications are, as well as some talks about reserve levels and what kind of responsible government looks like moving forward in terms of deciding what's the correct level of debt to hold as a municipality, and some of the decisions that we had a lot of discussion about, although we passed the budget tonight very quickly and talked less about that than we did about garage sales, things that might be sold for 25 cents as opposed to $9 million budget decisions. There's a lot of knowledge and expertise that goes into those decisions. So I do feel like we had some good conversations on the AUMA gathering that we had online. On April 15th, I was part of a group that made a presentation to a briefing with Rural Economic Development Minister, Miriam Monsef, and it was a rural transportation roundtable talking about the need for transportation in rural communities with the exodus of Greyhound, for example, a few years ago, and the need for on-demand, possibly transit or transportation options, things that this council has talked about many times before, and what that looks like in rural communities. And there's been a federal allocation of dollars to rural transportation that's never been there before. So just trying to take a look at what that looks like and what kind of considerations administrative teams would need to be able to provide, because this is, of course, even as we've had these discussions, a challenging consideration to think about what it is that our citizens might want or what they might need and what that would look like moving forward. So a great conversation, and I'm excited to see what that looks like moving forward. And the next meeting after that was our Economic Development Board meeting on April 15th. Again, I want to say a specific thank you to all of our tireless board members that are community members that are both business owners and volunteers and family members who devote their time and energy to our various boards. A lot of great information there and some great sharing of what's happening on the ground. So really appreciate hearing some good news. So a lot of things that we're hearing lately are negative, but there are some good news stories too. We've got some businesses that are expanding in the community. Some big ones like a new Kubota dealership, as well as the expansion at PV Mart and new ground being struck for Petro-Canada and other businesses that are being built. But there are also other good news stories. We've got a lot of houses that are selling. It's the busiest spring that realtors have seen in the last 3 to 4 years. So that's good news. And we're looking forward to seeing some of these new residents. And so some of the people that have been coming to town have been paying attention to our advertising campaign, which is great to hear. But there are also people that are looking for the quality of life that we have in a community like ours. So I would just continue to encourage everybody that's feeling tired or downtrodden just to look for those bright lights, because there are some good news stories, people that are seeking connection and seeking communities like ours, and we've got a lot to offer. So some of the discussions that we had there are with our new economic development manager, getting into his role and just moving forward on some of our projects. So we'll be bringing back some more information to council in the next little while, as well as some new board member applications. So I'll be excited to bring that forward. On April 22nd, I prepared for a taping for the upcoming Economic Developers Association conference. And I just want to highlight just a couple of things that have come forward. And it was a presentation that combined both what FCM has been advocating to the federal government leading up to the budget, as well as just sort of a circle back to see what that means for a community like Vegreville. And in doing the research, preparing for this, I just felt like we've grown a lot as a community. When we first started on our campaign, Respect Vegreville, the last time we were all putting on pins, it was to talk about respecting our community. And if a decision could be made that would hurt Vegreville, it could happen to any other community. And where we've gone since that time, being able to talk about what a strong community we are in terms of being able to provide supports to our businesses and our residents, and a lot of the things that we put in place in the last 5 years. So just wanted to say thank you to all of our colleagues here, council members and administration alike too. So it was kind of a full circle moment to talk about those things. As far as it comes from the budget for rural municipalities, there is a doubling of the Canada Community Building Fund, which is formerly known as the gas tax, which is great news for municipalities of all kinds. That's been a very big financial commitment to our community in particular, as well as the funding for the rural transit and transportation that I spoke about earlier, as well as some more funding under disaster mitigation and adaptation fund, some things that we've used in the past and could use again in the future. As well, I just wanted to say thank you again for the healthcare and frontline workers mural unveiling. I handed out some of my pins to some of the frontline workers who were genuinely touched. It was emotional for them to get a thank you, because a lot of times people are feeling tense. So thank you again for reminding us all that touching each other heart to heart is important, and reminding each other of humanity in the midst of being careful and following safety protocols, and just being able to reach out and have that personal connection with people is important. So that's my report, and thank you for everybody else making sure that this project happened.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Berry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was also at the Volunteer Week promotional video, and I thought it was extremely well done. It was pleasing to have a professional doing it for us. And speaking of Volunteer Week, I want to give a kudo out to Anya for putting together a video of the corn maze and acknowledging all of the volunteers that went into that event last year, and all of it that made it such a success. And we're hoping that all those volunteers are ready to step up again this year as we start planning and working towards a new corn maze this year. AMA virtual conference. Yeah, the 3 days that I was on it there, I found some of the presentations were quite well done. But as much as it's difficult for us, I believe, to sit on a virtual and not have personal contact, I felt sorry for some of the ones that had to be on the other side of it. None of the ministers really appeared to be that comfortable to me trying to field questions on the spot in a virtual gathering. It just doesn't really work all that well on a conference when you've got 300 plus people and you don't really have eye contact. But it was still some good information. On the 19th, the Vermilion River Watershed Executive Committee had a planning session by phone. The Ledge meeting on the 20th. St. Joe's General Hospital Community Board, we met on the 21st just briefly. There's still some plans in the making and some things going on there that I think will be announced in another month or so as developments go on for thanking workers. On the 22nd, I was joined with, Paul joined me, and we did talk of the town to discuss quickly about taxes. And I'll just say it again, the tip or the, no, I just went lost. The plan that everybody can get on to there to pay it by monthly. So they really should get the information on that and join up on it. On the 23rd, we actually had our board meeting for the Vermilion River Watershed Alliance. It was a very good Zoom meeting, despite all things that people say about Zooms. It was casual and informal, so we were able to have a good exchange of information. And we're still moving forward. We're trying to develop our website a little bit better, and we have some more projects on the go. Today, the mural, I've been waiting for it, and I was very impressed by how well that mural came out and how well it was received. So I think the community need to get down there to the thank you letters and sign up on it and leave a message for the frontline workers. And then tonight's 2 meetings. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Berry. Okay, so on the 13th, myself, Cliff, and our new economic development manager, Bob, met with Ecoterra and another hemp fiber company that we've been talking to for quite a bit. And it was a very positive discussion as we move forward with developing our park with no name yet. It's nice to see that these businesses want to go out and make contact with local producers, and the discussions are getting a lot more positive. I find myself doing a lot more of this, and I can plan on continuing to do more of this to attract these industries to town. No different than meeting with the new Petrocan or with what's going on at Peavey Mart with contractors, owners, managers and stuff, just to reassure them that this is the right place to spend their money and stuff. And moving forward, this is a plan that's going to have to be taken on the responsibility with partners within our operations, with Bob and with Cliff and stuff, I mean, no matter what, when they can get some reassurances from mayor and council, it makes it a little easier to make their decisions. So anyway, it all looking very positive on that front. And like I said, look forward to setting up some dates with these industry leaders and local producers. On the 14th, I too was part of the taping for the National Volunteers Week. And again, I thought the video turned out very well. We looked very professional. I think everybody did a good job. So. Then on the 19th, it was Alberta Hub, their new coordinator, the new manager for Hub. It was just the executive for Hub and trying to set a new direction of where we're going to go. And I thought it was a very good meeting. The LEDS meeting and then today, the unveiling of the mural and the thank you letters and stuff. It was a big moment. I know that we've all been waiting to get that out into the community, and it is a very feel-good story. And I think moving forward, when people get the time to walk down there or drive down and sign the thank you letters, I think it is just going to take on a whole different respect for just what has happened in our community and how we've all pulled together here. So. That being said, and then today's council meetings and CAO meetings, I have a couple of questions. Dale, when are we going to start announcing some capital projects, some start dates? When are people going to be upset with us for streets dug up in water and delays? What do you think?
Oh, I think fairly soon. We've just gone through the lift station tender in detail, the tenders that were submitted. So we've got all the background checks, the history, projects they've done in the past. So we'll be moving forward with that one in the next couple of days for sure. Capital Works, the 2021 project, our department now is reviewing the plans. We should have them back to MP, I'm gonna say by Wednesday the latest, and they're done. There'll be a couple of changes and then gone to tender with that as well. So things will get busy soon for sure.
Okay. Phil, I have a question for you. Notices went out to all residents that will be affected by the new walking trail in the northeast corner around the man-made lake. What is the procedure that we're going to follow when we're going to engage their comments or engage with them? What do we got set up?
So we've made a spreadsheet indicating all the addresses of those who have responded and their either support or opposition and their general comments. The closing time is April 30th. At that point, I will have the spreadsheet for senior leadership and town council to review and look at the comments and make a determination from there how we move forward in the trail development.
Okay. So we'll wait until you collect the input that you're going to give to us. Then we'll make some decisions on how we're going to engage those residents.
Yes, I'll have the spreadsheet to council completed for Friday afternoon.
Okay. Thank you very much. And when can we look at some of these projects in your department getting started?
As soon as some of my plans are presented to council for approval, we're ready to go. And like Dale said, it's going to be a very busy time for the Parks and Facilities crew as well. So there's a lot of projects just waiting for final approval of the plans. So I'm looking forward to a few busy months.
Excellent. And I'll let all the citizens of Margaret know that it's going to be a very busy town moving forward here. There's going to be a lot of workers and construction going on, and a lot of local people will be employed by a lot of the projects that we got moving forward with here too. So that's always good news. That being said, that's the end of everything on the agenda. Cliff, are we having a closed session tonight?
There are no closed session items for tonight.
Okay. Is there anything that I missed or anything anybody wanted to add before we adjourn tonight's meeting? Well, seeing none, I